The Leaders Table, transformative insights from global shapers. Good to see you, ladies. Ishita, Sawant, founder and CEO of Meolaa.
Yes, perfect.
And Linda Weisert, Global Director, Equity, Gender and Youth, Children's Investment Fund Foundation. Linda, if I could just start with you. Tell us about the foundation. What you do is and you're passionate about this, supporting girls, young women across India and sub-Saharan Africa to complete secondary education and enter the job market. Tell us how you do this.
Absolutely, yeah. So the Children's Investment Fund Foundation is the world's largest private philanthropy, exclusively focused on supporting the health and well-being of children and young people, and increasingly girls and young women. And I lead the foundation's work to embed diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that includes gender equity across all of our grant-making and partnerships. In India, we've been working since 2007 with a range of local partners to assist the Indian government in creating local solutions that will help empower children and young people. And specifically, we are committed to assisting the Indian government in realizing its ambition for a women-led development agenda, which is a cornerstone of its G20 presidency and really sets an important signal, not just in India, but across the global south and the world. And women-led development agenda for us also means supporting girls and young women in accessing and completing secondary education and acquiring critical life and educational and vocational skills to enter the job market. And so we have been working on programs, including under the leadership of the National Skills Development Foundation, that is about targeting 50,000 young people to help them get educated and access the labor force. And we've also recently institutionalized a very exciting program that is all around supporting 1 million women from low-income households to also enter critical businesses and industries, and this program is called GLOW. So just to give you a couple of examples of recent work.
How does all that resonate with you, a founder of this incredible platform, which it's still young, it's still early days, but you're growing at a phenomenal rate, it's purpose-led, it's curated for the next generation, it's experience-driven. How does that resonate with you?
I think it does, right? Because I'm probably one of the person who's benefited from this ecosystem coming together. I myself started straight out of college. That wasn't probably possible or very well accepted a couple years ago. What Meolaa does is we're at the core a next-gen experience company. What we realized is the next generation, which is Gen Z, young millennials, needed a new set of experiences provided to them, right? And the existing companies were not well equipped to do that because they didn't understand the generation well enough. Being digitally native as a generation, we make consumption and buying decisions every single day. And we realized that we can make that consumer spending power have a positive impact on the environment too. And that's essentially how Meolaa came to be. I personally studied in the US. I went to Northeastern University, but I decided to return to India to pursue Meolaa just because of the opportunities for myself, as well as us being a platform. We had to have the supply chain, right? We needed the brands, we needed the homegrown businesses, which India has today. I think Indian, small mid-sized businesses make up a very large percentage of India's consumption economy, which today stands at about $1.8 trillion. And over the next decade, it's projected to grow to $6 trillion. That's 3x growth. And the two main drivers of that change is one, better consumption, right? The generation wants to buy better. They want to buy consciously. They want to do better for the ecosystem and planet. And the second is newer categories, because now the Indian consumption economy is realizing that we're building for a much larger consumer base, for a much more diverse consumer base. So menstrual hygiene, for example, women's wellness, these are all categories unheard of in the past in India, which are emerging now. And yeah, we strongly benefit from all of the work that you guys do, because today our platform consists of 70% small mid-sized businesses, of which 60% are women-owned businesses. I'll come to a lot more data about women-owned businesses later, but in a nutshell, statistically, they're more capital efficient, high scale, and ultra growth.
We don't have that much time, so tell us now. Tell us more. We love those stats.
Yeah, absolutely. So statistically, there are 1 in 100 women that get funded in India, right? When I talk VC funding, that's a very
1 in 100.
Yes. In India, out of the multiple hundred probably VC funds that exist, only about 3% have women partners in a GP or in a partner or a decision-making position, which is quite interesting. Followed by which, when we recently were at IGF Delhi, there was a roundtable on women entrepreneurship. And something that we realized was that women entrepreneurs typically are far more capital efficient. So the ratio of how much capital they've raised vis-a-vis the returns that they've provided to their investors or the revenue that they generate is much higher than their contemporaries. So it's quite interesting, and it's interesting that how now women entrepreneurship is going from being a social imperative to an economic imperative, which was required.
Linda, tell us more about some of the learnings, the challenges, and the opportunities that you've learned, you faced.
Yes. I mean, building on what Ishita was saying, when women are put in positions of leadership, be it at the household level or within businesses, economies grow and nations advance. It's just as simple as that. And you cited some of the evidence around more effective stewardship of resources if women are put in charge, decisions that are much more mindful of the needs of not just women and girls, but the population writ large. And so the evidence really speaks to that point. I think in terms of learnings from our work, there are a few. So first I would say, it all starts with education of the girl, but it doesn't end there. You need a holistic approach to investing in a girl's education, vocational skills, life skills, family planning opportunities, to really give her the head start that she deserves, and for her to be able to thrive and fulfill her potential. There was also an important learning around the need for an ecosystem approach that really also addresses some preconceptions that parents and community stakeholders have around girls completing education, accessing the workforce. And I think it's very important to make the investment case in a way that speaks, as you had said, Ishita, not just the social returns, but economic returns. What is the return on investment case? And we've been, through our work, really focused on building that. And I think an important learning is also around working with government to strengthen national platforms of delivery for girls' education and access to skilling. Because this is how you reach, the most people, including those most in need, in an effective way, but also utilizing partnerships with private sector players to do that work effectively in assisting government. So just to share some.
Brilliant. We have 55 seconds. What's your call to action to all those hungry women out there, girls, women who are struggling, fighting, dreaming, wanting, driving to launch a business? What's your advice to them right now, all those who are watching us physically and virtually?
I think, like you mentioned, right, it's just been a year and a half for me, and I've seen quite different phases in this year and a half. We've raised 2 rounds of funding. We've gone from pre-product, pre-revenue to now a scaling phase. But I think the one thing I would say is have zero expectations from anyone or anything. You've just got to bet on yourself. You've got to give it your all, and the ecosystem exists today. At least in India, I have immensely benefited from it, but you've got to take your shot. Because if you don't shoot your shot, you're never going to get there. So I think resilience and not having too many expectations from anyone but yourself.
Brilliant. Big round of applause for our wonderful panelists. Thank you so much.